As the trade deadline approaches, a lot of teams and players are linked to the Montreal Canadiens, with the most recent one being a 19-year-old star in Boston, Matthew Poitras, being linked in a Sean Monahan trade. We gotta analyze this and the possibility of Montreal going after him. Plus, we got some awesome Habs prospect updates, including Jacob Fowler getting some extremely high praise, and David Reinbacher being a point per game over his last 5 on a massive win streak. A ton of awesome stuff to talk about on this episode of Habs Digest. Jesse, we're just going to get straight into the Reinbacher stuff, and he is feeling it right now. He has 5 points in his last 5 games. EHC Clutton's on a 5-game win streak. They just got their new head coach for this most recent game. Things are really, really looking up after what we thought was a disastrous start to the season. Reinbacher has been playing amazing. In their 5th straight win, he had 18 minutes. He leads all Clutton defensemen in scoring over that period of time. He had 5 assists in 13 periods. And for those of you who thought that Clutton was like, really, I mean, like we said it was pretty bad situation. There was a guy on Reddit there, Zodiac Arrow. Go check out this post. I highly recommend it. But he kind of gave some info from the ground there, saying like things are not all that bad. Said that Reinbacher's been getting a ton of praise. Their new coach just came in, so the GM could go back to fully GMing. He said Clutton was not expected to be a fantastic team, and I think us here and maybe a lot of you thought that, you know, we held them to a bit of a higher standard. But Jesse, to hear that things are kind of looking up, they love Reinbacher. He's on a great point streak. The team's winning. I feel like it's just like, it's getting me more and more hyped for him.
For sure, because we weren't worried. We were just concerned because David Reinbacher, he's a big part of this team, right? Our 5th overall draft pick from last year, like how he has a big play on how this team will really work out. So for his development, the fact that it's kind of getting back on track is amazing to see. And, you know, one thing that we can know about David Reinbacher for sure is he can skate like the wind. So it's really nice just kind of watching some highlights from Cloten and seeing him just all over the ice, you know, getting those points, you know, the 5 points in the 5 games, you know, and really just his overall play, the increase there has really just kind of translated the team wins as well. So nice to see him kind of affecting, you know, the team as well. Again, a very young defender in a men's league, you know, getting 18 minutes a night. So David Reinbacher, he's back on track. My question, to start the season next year, Josh, David Reinbacher, AHL or Montreal Canadiens?
I mean, based off just what we saw starting before this season, watching him play with some of the other Habs prospects and just watching how he moved and his decision making, I felt like he wouldn't have felt out of place on the NHL team from day one. So with that said, I think my prediction right now is he's going to start next season with Montreal. Is that the best for his development? I guess all we can do is wait and see. But based on the trajectory right now, I am fairly confident in saying he will start the season on the Habs. What about you? Do you agree, or do you think maybe a little more development could benefit him?
I agree, because mobility is the name of the game in today's NHL, especially for a defenseman. The way that this guy can get up and down around the ice, really, he thinks the game so well. So I expect him to be with the Montreal Canadiens to start the year. Of course, if he does need to go down the AHL, not the end of the world. But we're talking about a 5th overall draft pick, and a lot of times those type of players, once they get a little bit of experience, you know, they're ready for the big show pretty soon.
100%. He has been phenomenal as of late. Cannot wait to see him over in North America. But there's another Habs prospect that's already in North America, and he is stealing the show in the NCAA right now, and that is Jacob Fowler. And if you guys have been paying attention, of course, just recently last weekend, he had a little series, Boston College versus Boston University, Jacob Fowler versus Lane Hudson. Jacob Fowler came out on top. He is now at 18-4-1 on the season with a 2.25 GAA, 924 save percentage, one of the best goalies in the NCAA, with an argument for being the best. I mean, you know, there's certainly those arguments, and whoever thought that a guy from Florida, Melbourne, Florida, could be one of these star goalies in NCAA, but he's getting a lot of attention, just won goaltender of the week as well, but he got some great praise from a former NHLer, that's Ryan Whitney. He said Ryan Whitney on Spit and Chicklets podcast mentioned how impressed he had been with Fowler. In his eyes, Fowler's simply one of the best goaltenders he's ever seen play in the NCAA. Seeing him make so many spectacular saves over and over impressed him. He said he got Monty for 3 years, and having Fowler drafted in the 3rd round puts the Habs in the driver's seat. He said Fowler will be an NHL All-Star Game goalie. Now, he does go on to say Fowler reminds him of Hasek with Price and Weinbruder and one goalie, and I'm sure there was zero sarcasm saying that, but regardless, Jesse, Jacob Fowler is getting a ton of praise, not just from Habs fans, which is awesome to hear when people outside of this fan base are giving him the praises he deserves. I'm, again, like, an atypical kind of goalie build, a bit shorter than normal, not what you'd expect. This guy, like he always says, he's like, what else do I have to do to prove myself? I keep winning at every level.
And it's almost looking like we really have the tandem of the future right now with Jacob Fowler and Sal Montembeault within the organization already. That would be amazing for Kent Hughes. Just one less thing for him to worry about. And it's true that the praise is really coming everywhere for him right now. Like some people watching the games, they're saying he's looking better than Will Smith, Ryan Leonard, Gabe Perreault. He's just basically like, we can't underestimate how well he is playing this year. He's just killing it. One of the main things, though, for Jacob Fowler is he's leading the NCAA in wins in total as a freshman, as a goaltender at 18. And that's the biggest thing about Jacob Fowler is he just finds ways to win games. That's the thing about him his whole career. And he just even though he's a little bit undersized, he just finds a way again to really win. And not just that, which really makes me think that he's going to project so well to the NHL, but it's also like him being good under these pressure situation games. It seems like when it matters most, he's ready for the bright lights and he puts on his best performances. So things are really, really lining up well here.
Yeah, the clutch gene is not something you can often teach. And, him being in the Habs prospect system with Lane, Bones, Hudson, he's grown a bit. Maybe Jacob Fowler can grow an inch or two, learn from Lane himself. But yeah, you're very right. I mean, when the lights are at their brightest, Jacob Fowler is at his best. This guy lives for the spotlight. He makes fantastic saves. His positioning is so good. He's surprisingly agile. Everything he does just contributes to winning. And I cannot wait to see what he has in store next because, again, like he's not just catching our eyes. He's catching the eyes of a bunch of players, former NHL players, current NHL managers. These guys are watching him and they're seeing what could be a special goalie of the future. Final thing we got to talk about is a potential trade. Now, this trade, I saw this from a website called Habs Fanatics, and go check out the article if you'd like, but they kind of make a point that Matthew Poitras might not be the most crazy target for the Montreal Canadiens, and there's a point to this. Let's get into it. So, they kind of say, as the NHL is about to pause its activities for the All-Star game, we see the trade market starting to heat up, and there's more and more smoke, and every year surprising trades are announced, just like Kent Hughes did a couple of years ago with the Toffoli trade. Not necessarily a huge surprise, but it happens. So they say Matthew Poitras, could he be traded to the Habs? His name is circulating. Kent Hughes must be interested. And to add a little extra context to that, we have some quotes from Corey Brahman says the Bruins won't like parting with Poitras because of his success at 19, but he's one of their few desirable young players. And also from Jonathan Bernier, in Boston, it's a bit thin in terms of draft picks, but young Matthew Poitras could do the trick for a lot of these trades. And we know that Boston has been in the market for a center. We've linked Sean Monahan to them before. Some insiders have said it could be a good fit. And when you look at Matthew Poitras, yeah, I mean, he's a former second-round pick, but he's only 19, 15 points in 33 games this year for the Boston Bruins. Now, he's a centerman, too. Jesse, if I'm Boston, I think it'd take a lot for me to give up Matthew Poitras, but I guess it also depends on how keen they are on winning now. Like, do they see their record and they're like, Sean Monahan can make a difference right now, or do you think they would maybe just have to keep holding Matthew Poitras as they maybe transition into a more rebuild phase?
It's a great question. He definitely has a lot of value. 15 points in 33 games. Like, this is the type of player that looks like he's going to be a point per game type of player in the not so distant future, right? But Boston, they're definitely in that win now sort of mode. They had that great regular season last year, then to have the terrible playoffs. Maybe they want to really kind of shore everything up and say, even though we're having an okay regular season, that we're not taking any chances. We're getting the experience of no one else better than Sean Monahan for that, right? But at the same time, you have to feel like the Boston Bruins, like they're kind of short on centermen. But if Sean Monahan's going the other way, then, maybe that could work. But you'd have to think with an aging club that they would really like to hold on to any type of player that feels like could really transition into their future and that kind of next generation be one of the young leaders for them. But I mean, if you're Kent Hughes, you definitely have to be paying attention. We know this is the type of player that he loves. This is the prototypical Kent Hughes special minus the reclamation project part of it, which for me makes it so exciting. It's like, if it's not Monahan, what does it take for a type of move like this, right? It's definitely an interesting player to look at. You don't want to just load up on just the young guys. But again, kind of getting that nucleus, that young core would definitely be exciting to see them kind of grow together and develop. And again, kind of ensure that consistency year in, year out for the next foreseeable future, which Kent Hughes is really looking for.
Yeah, and Poitras, of course, 19, he's 44% on the dot, and a lot of you are thinking, well, that's not that great. Well, just a reminder, that's 6% better than Kirby Dach last season. It's about 5% better than Alex Newhook, so just to give some perspective on how good that is in the face-off dot. But at the same time, Jesse, again, I think we're kind of on the same page that I don't think this is ever going to happen. I think if you're Boston, a team that has been pretty consistently ranked near the bottom of the NHL in prospect depth and like future potential, they've won their cups in the past, but it all depends, again, like you said, on ownership and on the GM. Like, do they really want to go all in and try and go for that cup and say it was all worth it? Doesn't matter if Poitras ends up being a star. We won a cup. Like, what if Sean Monahan agrees to sign an extension there as part of the trade? Could that maybe sweeten it up a bit? But at the end of the day, I just don't see it happening. I don't see the Bruins making a move like that for a veteran and Sean Monahan, a guy that they might lose at the end of the year. But Matthew Poitras is too good, too interesting of a name for us to not talk about. And let us know down below, what do you guys think about Poitras? I don't think it's going to happen, but if the opportunity arose, would you take a swing at him? Let us know down below. But for now, that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 15,000, and there's thousands of you watching right now that are still in this video. Come back to this tab if you clicked away. Hit that subscribe button. We'd really, really appreciate it. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.